5, 3, 2, go.
Oh, 7 star citizens, and welcome back to Answer the Call, your personal favorite podcast. And I know that because I checked your search history. We talk about Star Citizen and everything that happened in the week and any sort of big topics that we want to go through. And it is with myself and Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I did just mention to you, I scratched my eye just before the stream. So I'm going to be doing this the entire time, chat. I'm so sorry.
And he does not have pink eye?
I don't have pink eye. I'm just really clumsy. I was literally putting on my jacket and just went smash right into the eye.
But I'm not doing entirely great. I think I messaged Croncy and was like, damn, you know, it is a little bummer, the second part of the title here, that we're still not Wave 1 with the cargo update.
Yep.
But I did put all the patch notes and things that we'll discuss because they are making progress on some of the major issues that we've been dealing with in the Evo patches, but unfortunately, I don't think they've made enough progress to get us to Wave 1 yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not stalled, just slow.
I think 4 months late is stalled. Yeah, but it's since we've been going, it's really slow now. So, I'm bummed. I think it's not the subject for the podcast today, so we'll leave it. But I am feeling super bummed today, and over the last week or so. But I think what we got for ISC, you were super hyped for this ISC.
Yeah,
I was like, I think it's just going to be visual. I think it may have exceeded your expectations and certainly exceeded mine. I think it was a really good episode. I don't know.
Which is
how deep you want to jump into it right away, but we're just so everybody knows, and you might want to get into the call queue quickly if you have any feelings about the podcast or about the jump points, because we're probably not going to discuss it for entirely forever and allow you guys to come in and chat about it with us. So get in the call
as well
queue
as if you have anything
yet.
that's like jump point adjacent, because one of the big things is like this is our first sort of like detailed look at jump points publicly, especially because the last playtest was private Evo, I think, as well. Oh no, it might have been the first public Evo.
No jump point was tested publicly yet.
No, I mean as in allowed to talk about it.
No, it was the first public one. I remember going, like, I made a video saying I jumped through a jump point and like a stupid thumbnail, and it did really well. And then all of a sudden, every creator was invited to Evo after that because somebody complained. That's what I heard. It
wasn't me, I swear.
It wasn't you.
But yeah, so it's like our first proper detailed look at it really since 2019. I actually think it might be 2019. The Citizen Con where they showed the first jump through a jump point, that like the super scripted Carrick flying through one. And so it's something we've been waiting for obviously a really long time.
Yeah.
It is, other than server meshing, the quote unquote last blocker before Pyro. But it's just because we mechanically need to be able to get there somehow.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed. So everything they showed, obviously, was visuals are in sort of limbo. They're trying to mess with stuff, but they did show what their target for VFX was. That's the thing. Yeah, they still looked pretty damn decent. Yeah. The actual like entrances look like they're probably a lot further along than the inside VFX are when you're inside the wormhole. But you can sort of like, really, it's just like the colors and distortion effects need to be changed, because they do show it later. It does essentially look like this at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just need to mess with colors and distortions. They did talk about like, you know, the obstacles and the jump points not being in there yet. But it was pretty dope. I really got excited by this ISC and just all the information they gave us about it.
Yeah, me too. Like, that's probably what I was more hyped about. Now, I don't like a lot of the information I heard. I think a lot of the community is a little bit confused about things or upset about things, and I think some things rightfully so, some things not. That's why I think this podcast will be pretty good. I think people will be pretty engaged with it because everyone interpreted what they were saying in different ways or so on and so forth. So I think there should be some good discussion here. That's where I was really happy with it. Even though I
Mhm.
may not be happy with some of the things I heard, I am very happy that we had system designers, gameplay people on the screen saying these are our intentions with these jump gates, and
Yep.
not just you know, like kind of what we got as like a note on the screen was like these are the, like you had said, these are placeholder visuals. That's
Yeah.
the
Yep.
old kind of style of like the only things that we care about are the way things look, and is
Yeah.
it
Yep.
fidelity enough, is it immersive enough, and obviously we got that stuff, but there was a lot of discussion around their intentions for these as well, and I thought that was really good.
Yep. Yep.
um what was your favorite thing, and what was your least
Uh,
favorite thing?
my favorite thing by far is like the 40 seconds that they talk about transient jump points, which is the part of the video they're actually doing right this
Yeah.
second. So these are the jump points that are presumably, the way they're talking about it, will spawn randomly in different locations around the system that you have to find, and will be limited use, whether in time or by amount of players. They do sound like they are heavily concept at the moment,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate, but also not unexpected, as you know, we haven't even got one jump point yet.
Yeah.
Um,
And when we do, we only
yeah,
have one system to go to, so it's
exactly. Yeah. But it was cool. I really like that they've got that ahead, because one of my least favorite things, but is maybe fixed by the transients, is all major jump points, like all static jump points. So essentially, every single one that you can see on the online star map now fit all sizes of ships.
Do you like that, or do you like that?
I only like it because they then said
Yeah.
transient jump points will be for your like smaller ships and stuff like that, which is great. I think that's awesome. I think the amount of people that you're going to want to get through all of the major runs anyway, you need them to be able to accommodate all sizes, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, as long as you are not discounting those smaller ships in some way, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I am somewhat disappointed by that, but
Hmm.
very very minimally. Like I love the idea of the size of jump points, and I love the idea of um if you had a really large ship, you had to take a longer route.
Yeah,
Now that's not really the option. It is more of the you have to take the more.
the safer routes, or
Yeah,
not even necessarily safer, but
is
like
it, or like, so
the more trafficked route.
that's where, like, from a gameplay standpoint, it's, I think
Yeah.
they've taken a slight step back for convenience in some way, but
Hmm.
because of all the things that we talked about earlier, where we are perceiving what they said in different ways, is it the safer route? Is it not the safer route? It's
Yeah, yeah.
still unclear, and I'm sure we'll touch on that later. But so that was my like slight disappointment with that. But
Hmm.
my hyper excitement was similar to you with the transit ones being
Hmm.
all small, medium, and large, and not knowing where they're going. So that could be not knowing where they're going to
Yeah.
end up in Pyro, or not knowing where they're going to end up in like Terra. Like you might not know where you're
Yeah.
going, period, until you get there on the other side, and then you
Yeah.
can let
I
other
will say,
people
just
know.
the implication of their wording was that you will probably know the system it's going to, especially as the way that they said
I
it is
hope
that
not.
it's like a extra like entrance into the main tunnel, is like the sentence that they said. Uh, but then within there, yeah, you will not know where you're going to end up,
In the
maybe
system.
once you actually end up in the system.
Well, what do you
I
think
would like
about?
it to be what you said, though,
Okay, okay,
as
yeah,
long as there is some way to maybe you can scan it down a little bit better.
yep.
Or if they last long, like as always, we'll use Eve as an example. If they last long enough, like wormholes in Eve,
Hmm.
where they'll be up for at least 4 hours, so you can just do like a quick in out to check where it's going, but that maybe degrades it or whatever.
Yeah, and like I don't. Eve's a good example for these because they do this exact mechanic. But
Yeah,
the uh the thing that I just love about it is, like you said, scanning down things like that is you heard the first example of what exploration gameplay will be, whereas
yes,
exploration gameplay has been very vague for very many years, and it was very clear that even though it was never said, that this is something that they can apply to a ship like a Carrack, that they can apply to a ship even like the 315P to be able to find these things and stuff like that. So I find that to be very exciting, very cool from that standpoint, as well as you know, think of all the gameplay implications here: avoiding PvP, smuggling, exploration. You know, there's just a lot of things that come into play that I find to be very cool when they decided to go the transient side of things.
We'll keep talking about jump points for now, but we should also at some point, just because I'm seeing it now and I need to remember, is just the new UIs. We'll touch on the new UIs on a bunch of the ships soon because there's a lot of stuff there. The other thing with the jump points, so one of the big ones, and Mike, I was watching you watch a video just before that was sort of touching on some of these things, is like some of the concerns and whatnot about PvP and griefing and whatever else, right, that are going to happen around these locations.
I have many concerns. Yeah.
So they do explicitly talk about if someone tries to literally
no, Croncy's gone. Okay. So I'll take over. They said if somebody is going to block, that they're going to get knocked out of the way, that they're going to deal with it in some way. They also said that they weren't sure how they wanted to deal with it towards the end of the video, but they're actively discussing it now. But if they're actively discussing it, they know they want to get rid of it, right? So there's that. It's just how punishing they want it to be. Do they want to call it griefing? Do they want to have an in-game solution for it, or what? Are you back?
Maybe. Yes. Hello.
Yes. Hello.
I don't know what happened there.
So you finished where it was. So they had when somebody is blocking, that's where it stopped.
Yes. Yeah. So they explicitly talk about if someone is trying to physically block you from entering the jump point, just with the mechanics that they've got for it. Their intention is to have a mechanic that literally pushes people out of the way. We see it happen in one of the videos. Don't know whether it's a staged version of it or whatnot, but
no,
I imagine
exists. I experienced it. If you get too close and you don't have it is not your turn to jump, it launches you back. That was a thing in the original test. Cool. It existed. So it is real.
Sweet.
Yeah. But people will find the point at which you don't get pushed back, but you could still block. So they're still trying to figure out how they want to deal with essentially griefing, because that's definitely griefing for sure. Like I can't think of a different way of saying it. If you're being an asshole at the gate, you're griefing. In terms of blocking it, if you're fighting at the gate, I wouldn't consider that griefing necessarily. But
yeah, I think they're going to have to decide, depending on the system, if they want to like this is where you start instituting, you know, like how far do we want PvP to be in certain locations at these choke points? Because these are the most obvious choke points in the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Like there's other ones around stations, around cities, whatever, but these are literally people theoretically should be traveling through these at all times.
Yes.
So they obviously have the capability of just putting turrets and whatever else there. You can try the crime stat route. For the game as it stands right now, which 4.0 isn't going to affect the game in that aspect really at all, that probably won't be enough to prevent just tons of feel bad moments.
Yeah.
And just for the system to be abused. So they may have to institute something else. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting temporary armistice zones just around the jump points themselves. But I don't want it to be that way. But that's how I see it going.
Yeah, if your AI can't solve problems, then they might have to go that route like they have at outposts and things like that, right? It's very, very, very unfortunate, and none of us want that. But on the initial launch, what can you do? I do want to point out something that you just said is how they want to deal with it on either side of the system. They are showing a lot here of things that I've already experienced, and this is what the Stanton side looks like, right? And a lot of people have experienced this if you've played any of the previous tech previews that were open and just spawned on the Pyro side. This is more what the Pyro side looks like. So in the idea, like, that is like a busted up, that is not a station. So what's kind of near you at the jump point is nothing. it's a lot more open and a lot more free in a location like this, where it's a lot more built up and infrastructure around the Stanton one. So the idea of Stanton probably being pretty well defended versus Pyro being pretty open and free, I think kind of reiterates your point as that they might be choosing different styles on either sides, not just visually, right? But also defensive. I guess did you say you said your favorite? Did you say your biggest concern?
I just said that like I was a little concerned with the size changes, but like that's probably easily alleviated.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm pretty keen on it. The queuing system feels like a necessity. Like it, you know what I mean? I don't know
That
how.
is my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Do you want me to like just start going in on this? There are so many, and I'm going to leave this freeze frame on Ed here because he's the one who said it. And I just want to know what was in his head. Because I don't think what came out of his mouth is necessarily what we are getting. I think it was just, it was hard to interpret exactly what to expect. And I'm going to try to get the video to sort of where we're looking at it. But the grouping idea in a game where you have organizations that have no cap to how many people can be in an org, no cap to how many people can be in a party, is very weird. Especially when we do believe that these gates will be able to be camped. And a lot of people are saying that that's not true. So I'm going to come in, and I made a Spectrum post just and specifically asked the developer who made the comment in my Twitch chat to respond to the Spectrum post so it's out there in the open more, because I get a lot of shit when developers type in my chat but not anywhere else, and then people say it's not official, it's not real. But it is real, right? It is those people. So I asked them to respond there. And what was said around this issue is, okay, there's groups. They limited in a certain number. We don't know what that number is. So personally, I don't feel like touching too much on that because we don't know if that number is 5 people or 50 people. If it's 50, it's a lot less bad than 5, right? If I'm upset about the situation. What I am 100% upset about is that we're flying in a line because they visually think it looks cool, and that you're going to be coming out of the gate in order of that line probably, and you're going to be coming out of the gate what they said was in different areas. Now, everyone is interpreting that in different ways. I was fortunate enough to get clarification on what that meant. What that meant was if you're jumping from Stanton to Pyro, you are going to end up in multiple locations around the Pyro entrance from Stanton. Yeah. So you're not going to be 100 kilometers from each other, like probably like 20. And if you're away from each other at all, the video shows that you are in a group coming in Stanton. The words that come out of their mouth can be interpreted in 100 different ways. If Croncy and I are in a group and we go together, are we going to come out separate from the gate? Or are we going to come out together from the gate? Right? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered around that, specifically because if somebody's camping the gate on the other side and we're not together as a group, we're dead. Right? So my hope is, and this is what I'm assuming it is, because it would be really silly if it wasn't, you go in as a group, you come out as a group, but there's like 10 to 15 different locations that are randomly chosen that you can come out of. That's my assumption. But my assumption doesn't matter. They need to clarify it and let you know, because if everybody's interpreting it in different ways, everyone's confused, time for a yellow Spectrum post. That's all. Just clear it up and we're fine. But yeah, I'm very worried. At the same time, I expect
we'll have a Ask the Devs SCL about jump points soon-ish. They tend to do this every time they've like revealed some new mechanic or whatnot. Within a month usually. Yep. There's an SCL, like an Ask the Devs SCL. So still, please do that, and we'll
post it on Spectrum.
Try to get these. Yeah.
Fuck. It takes 3 seconds. Just clarify, because there's. obviously these guys go on camera. You can't get everything. There's a clarification on Spectrum right now that I'm sure we'll go over in relation to ATCs, because a lot of people were pissed off about that as well, which is, I thought, was really stupid. We can go into that right now.
That's a silly one to be mad about.
What do you think? What do you think? Because they're mad about it. They're mad about it because there's no circle around the jump point now. That's what they're mad about.
I would say those are two separate issues, but I feel like it's the same people being mad about both.
I think they're the same issue, because if there's like a theoretical station around the jump point, then you're allowing people to use it. It makes more sense visually. And the reason they went away from the jump point is because it's natural and so on. And that's
it's purely aesthetic choice, and that's completely fine if they like that aesthetic more, right? The problem that I have is when people have been saying like, but it doesn't make sense in the lore, and it doesn't make sense to me like in this way. It's like they can just make the lore up right now. The jump points don't exist yet. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And for people saying it looks bad, like I see somebody in chat saying it looks shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think it looks really cool. It obviously the circle, like one of the best pieces of concept art ever was the piece of concept art with the ring around the jump point. So it was beautiful. It was amazing. Maybe it looks shit to them compared to that, but I think this looks incredible. So I would just disagree on that standpoint. But
plus the like spectacle of it going from, because it's like, once again, the VFX are not final, but a lot of the like ideas around it will likely stay, where it starts off as just like, just like some warbled space. And then when it finally opens up, when you start it, I think that looks a lot cooler rather than just opening up the gate sort of thing like we saw in 2019.
Yeah. So they clarified on Spectrum, and this is Ed Fuller, the guy I paused on earlier, talked about jump points or transient jump points being free, and that you will align to them and all that stuff without an ATC. But the reason for the ATC was gameplay. And I freaked out the moment I heard the word gameplay, because this doesn't sound like gameplay at all. But then he goes in and explains it, and it makes a lot more sense. So classic me getting mad before finishing the rest of the words, but it's who I am, and I can't help it. They consider them like border checkpoints. So they don't want people leaving and going without being checked. And which also, it sounds like literally customs checks will also happen gameplay wise when you're in these queues as well. Yeah. They don't want slower ships to be trumped by faster ships. I'm not sure what that really means, because you would think that there would be some sort of a queue. You press I want to jump, and then you get put in a queue of when you can jump. At least that was my experience in the previous test. But maybe they gathered feedback from that there were some issues that they wanted to deal with on that front. But it's kind of like I think that's all they really care about from that sense of the word. But they didn't say it was a technical issue. I still don't understand the idea of the technical limit to the group yet. I want to hear more.
Yeah, for sure. My brain would say that they just want to do it so we don't have issues with literally hundreds of people appearing in a shard all at once, and then like messing up servers on the other side of the jump point and stuff. It's a presumably a good way to funnel that. You could argue that it is not whether it's good or bad is up to the individual player, but that it is a gameplay thing of like, you also just don't want a situation where, like, let's say you've got a war or a battle, whatever, happening between two systems. You don't want one side to just completely swarm over to the other. You want there to be like a little bit of grind through the jump point or something like that. That could be a thing that they want.
Yeah, but look at it from the other perspective. Is if you're the Pyro gang and I'm the Stanton gang.
Yep.
You place 100 people on the gate and just sit there, and then we come through 10 at a time and just die over and over again. There's
in that case, I guess it would depend on the transients and how they're going to work.
Yep, exactly. But if they're not in, regardless of the transient thing, I do think they need to address this issue, because I think it is an issue. Like the transient does help you get around it, but if the way to get
might
around
help you
it,
get around it. That's what I'm saying. It depends on how it actually ends up working.
Exactly, might help you get around it, but then on top of that, all the extra steps to get around it is cool. Like we were talking about transients very positively 20 minutes ago, but the from this perspective, it's, don't you like, as a PvP org versus PvP org, they want to jump on top of each other and they want to fight.
Yeah.
So you're preventing that fight from being fair by making people go through one at a time, small groups.
Yeah.
Right.
Which with one jump point, yes, as well. Like it's also it's a problem that also could be solved later, but we need it solved now. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like, yeah, you need to figure these issues out before your first iterations. Like these things need to live on a solid foundation. And when we do stuff like this, it makes me think that nothing, like Star Citizen is just crumbling, like at one blow of some wind on a lot of things like this is, it's just very obvious to look at the way they say things and just go, yep, I know how to exploit that. And that just happens way too often, I think, on ISC and stuff like that. So hopefully we get a little bit more clarification. He only clarified why there's an ATC, which I think was the least problematic thing that came out of ISC in terms of things that might have been confusing. And the one that they decided to answer was silly.
It's what I heard the most vitriol about, though.
Yep, and that's
so like
our
it
community.
Makes sense that they would answer that. Yeah,
and that's our community, and that's one of the biggest problems with our community is there's so many other like PvP related problems that they're going to end up crying on Spectrum and Reddit about in a few months' time, according to Jared, but they're concerned about whether or not they press ATC or not going into a thing. So the feedback really should be, hey, I'm a little worried about this, and what do you guys have to say about it? And they choose to go on ATC and how it visually looks instead of how you're going to experience this, because you might not like what you experience is the vibes that I'm getting. But
there's also, like, based on what they were talking about in the whole thing, there was one sort of interesting thing that I realized, which if criminal reputation starts working, which that is a maybe possibility for 4.0. It's still probably low on the 5% or less, but the way they talk about it, if you are a criminal that's looking to either camp either side of the gate or whatever, it sounds like it's going to be really hard for you to get to those locations without bringing a huge force to deal with all the other like extra NPCs and stuff.
Hopefully, but again, we know. Yeah, we just the thing that I struggle the most with is their intended mechanics to deal with problems and how it currently functions. And when you have yet to prove that an NPC can be a good deterrent, it's really tough.
Yeah, exactly.
To be like, all right, yeah, like I trust this is going to be good. But like and I think, and I like that you bring it up, because this is something I also wanted to bring up, is the reputation side of things doesn't just play on the Stanton side. Like, my really copium take around the Pyro jump point is hopefully there is a constant power struggle between all these gangs inside Pyro for the stations, for the jump point, and like maybe players are doing missions and pushing the influence of certain gangs in certain directions, and choosing sides and stuff like that. Like Pyro gameplay could be unique and very different from what we see in Stanton, and I think that'd be really cool. And if you have bad reputation with who owns the jump point, maybe you really struggle with going through the main one. So that's one of the things that I'm like, oh my god, this would be so cool. But also you want that to exist. You want pain to be not pain, but you want, if people are doing things that are unlawful or against the controlling gang, you want their life to be a little bit more difficult, don't you? Right? So
yeah, you want some natural natural conflict to evolve over, whatever your actions are in the game. That's like the whole point, right? It's
Yeah.
just who is that faction? Is it a loyal? Sorry, not loyal. Is it a legal UEE faction or is it the pirate factions?
Yeah. Doesn't
I
matter.
will
It's a
say,
faction, so it could be
yeah,
anything, which is cool.
exactly. I don't think the jump point state, at least the sound of their vision from the video, the station that's on the pyro jump point is 100% going to be a UEE station. And based on that, I assume going to be the same case for when they do pyro to Nyx and whatnot. But as long that won't be bad, as long as there is enough interaction between me leaving this station in pyro to the other station in pyro, with the possibility of getting pirated, having to deal with local pirates to refuel, and make sure that I've got all of those interactions. That's fine. But once again, just don't know how it's actually going to play out.
Yeah. All I know is I don't know where somebody shared this hilarious image of, I think it was like a star map thing with Pyro, and it was like Pyro, X amount of planets and 26 stations. And it was like, so refueling's not going to be a problem here, is it? But maybe with reputation.
With the distance it is, it still probably will. I mean, how many have we got in Stanton? We've got quite a lot in Stanton as well.
Yeah, but the distance isn't that
exactly
that much bigger in Pyro, so it's not. Yeah, I feel like the refueling is made for Pyro thing just died not too long ago, which makes me very sad. Is there anything else around jump points that were brought up by the community? Problems, loves, dislikes? I can't think of any off the top of my head now. That's basically all the things that I was thinking about.
Yeah, they didn't really talk much else. Well, we just described a lot of things. I guess the only other stuff is some more confirmation that they talked about a couple months ago of when you actually come out of the jump point. So if you are in the jump point, you will take distortion damage if you're getting too close to the sides of the.
We should touch on this
tunnel. Once you've done it too much, you do get knocked out of the tunnel. The wording that they said is you will get knocked out at a random place along the tunnel. But so in this situation, that would essentially mean either in Stanton or in Pyro. I'd have to rewatch it again. I don't think they said you would be depending on how far you got in the tunnel, would be you're guaranteed in Pyro or whatnot. It sounded maybe like it was a bit more random of which one you ended up with.
But
bullshit. You will not be at the station.
I call complete and utter bullshit on that statement, and I don't know what could have possibly changed technically to make that statement true. The moment you jump through a gate, you're in Pyro. That's how it was when we did it. I can't see that having changed. Maybe it has. Maybe server meshing tech is so powerful, even though you technically are in Stanton or are in Pyro, they can shoot you back to Stanton after you've jumped out seamlessly. I'm going to go ahead and say doubt, but maybe. The reason why I was so excited that you brought this up is a lot of people are using this as a way in their minds to avoid PvP at the gates. I don't know what distortion damage is going to be, but if you get knocked out of a gate, I hope you're out of commission for a while, and it is not a fun experience.
I want you to be far enough away from a place of refueling that it is likely you'll have to call someone.
Yeah, Mud in chat says fuses blow. Okay. Did you bring enough fuses? Are you able to repair your components? Do you have the way of removing distortion damage? All that stuff. Hopefully there's some serious implications for you doing that, because you should be trying to successfully get through the gate and get to the other side.
It's also it needs to be a mechanic that doesn't as in the trying not to get pushed out of the tunnel needs to be enough of a mechanic that it's not so hard that you're actually concerned about falling out. But it does need to punish you enough that you're not actively trying to fail.
Yeah, exactly. And the choice to do that versus a transient jump point is it shouldn't be a choice. You should be, hey, That gate is hot. I need to find a does anybody know if there's a transient jump point? Do you have a and then you have the star map and you're sharing locations and all that stuff. So yeah. Definitely.
I will say, just on the transient jump points, I would love if transient jump points took you to transient jump points. So like, if I found a transient jump point in Stanton,
you
I
know
want
on
it
the
to
other
push
side.
me out of a transient jump point in Pyro.
Yeah.
You know? Rather than, because once again, the way that it sounds like they're
you in a
talking about
random
it,
spot, right?
yeah, way they're talking about it now, it sounds like you'll just come out at the same point everyone does at the Pyro like jump point. It's just you're entering from a different spot.
Oh, yeah, I hope it I
Yeah.
don't know if it should put you out at another transient jump point. That could be their choice or not. I would just like it to be a completely random location in Pyro.
Yeah, sure.
Like not the jump point. I think
Yeah,
that would be cool. But I don't know. Ready for callers /
No, we still got more to talk about, Mike. Damn, you've forgotten all the stuff that happened in the ISC. So there was sneak peeks in the ISC that they've been doing a lot recently,
yeah,
and this
you
was
literally
all the
just
UI.
you literally just told me
Yeah.
to pay attention to that. Duh.
Yeah. So a bunch of
You're-
new ship UIs. I think we see the C1, we see the Corsair.
This is C1.
Yeah, this is the C1. Pretty cool aesthetically. I think it fits much more into what the game is currently, as well as what we saw from Squadrons. That makes sense that they would, make that similar. A couple of things of note, at least that I noticed, is your ship, like your self UI in the top left again, looks to be permanent. Awesome, cool. So you can see your
Well, it might be the
status
visor
really
thing
easily.
that you can move around that they had talked about in
True, which would be great, actually. I
sitcom.
would love if it was the visor. Yeah. The
There's the
biggest
Nomad.
thing probably that you notice is right there is the power triangle is no longer a triangle. It is now bars, similar to Elite Dangerous or Starfield or any other number of sci-fi games.
Yeah, like somebody in my chat was like, they stole this from Starfield. I was like, what are you, 12? This has been a thing for like 50 years. Like, calm down, dude. My entire
minimum
life
of the
playing video
90s,
games,
like
this has been a
every
thing.
sci-fi game had this.
Exactly.
Yeah. It makes more sense to someone who like comes into the game what that does versus the triangle. But in addition to that, one thing we noticed, so on the Nomad there, you can see that it's got like,
hold on, I'm gonna
a bit
get
hard
a
for me to see,
better.
but it's like,
Yeah, I'm gonna get a better version.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. This is probably the best.
Yeah, so up the top, well, actually, that's a good one to compare it to. So up the top left there, you've got, some power going to web.
Oh, he's gone. So I'm not exactly sure where he's going now that he says some power to weapons, some power to engines, and some power to shields. But the thing that I was, if he doesn't point it out, the thing that I was really keen on to use his Australian lingo.
Back again.
There you go. You're back.
I don't know what the hell's going on. It's turning off for like 20 seconds at a time.
It's internet, man. It's whatever. But the fact that you're coming back and it's clean and it's not it's a smooth experience. So welcome back. He came through a jump point, guys. That's what it is. He's
That's how good it is, guys.
He's jumping. It's seamless. So it died when you said they're putting power to weapons.
Yeah. So in this picture, you can see that they're putting like some power to weapons. They've got some power. Well, presumably that's what we're looking at. They've got
weapons,
power to
engine,
weapons. They've
shields.
got some power to engines and shields. But you'll also notice that there's like the grayed out section behind it, which you would assume would be the capacity that you can put into those. Notably, like the amount of like filled up power there, as far as I can tell, because it's a bit hard to see on the picture, wouldn't completely fill one of those sections. In addition, if we go to the Nomad has a different number.
Before we move,
yeah,
just because it's super relevant, look at output as well.
I cannot see output. Oh, okay, 7 of 22.
7 of 22. So then when we move, look at the output of the Nomad or whatever ship we end up at. I'm going to try to get the Nomad. It's for whatever reason the Nomad it never lines up on it.
Yeah.
The Nomad says 5 out of 14.
Yeah.
I don't know where the number 5 comes from on the Nomad in particular, but the numbers have made sense on the UIs in terms of the left number. The right number is hard to determine, but I think these are power plant capacities, and each power plant's a little bit different. And I think it's starting to make choice matter a lot more. And so you're looking a lot at the ding 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 bars, and I'm looking so much at that little box. This is output, and I am so interested in
Yeah.
that. Obviously, this is an incredibly small image. I will bounce around and look
Mhm.
for like the Corsair or something like that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, the
There you go.
output was what I was, because you can see it's different here as well. The
Yeah.
output was what I was trying to talk about. The grayed out bars at the back are also different. That is presumably the output, right? That is the maximum output that you can
But
have.
look, yes.
Yeah.
So I think the grayed out bars are ship dependent, but
Yep.
the number, which is kind of cool, is
Mhm.
power plant dependent. So the power plant that's currently
Yeah,
in
that'd be
this
cool.
ship can have 18 bars, but this ship only has 12, and 4 is 16.
Mhm.
Right? So there you choose a power plant that fits in the ship that you're trying to use. Now, yes, we had power plant sizes, but now sizes
Yeah.
may differentiate here a little bit. I don't know. It's total theory crafting, but it is some food for thought. Looking at a static image that it
Yeah.
it's cool. Some changes are coming, is what it's telling me.
Yeah. Which I like. I like the idea of messing around more with, like this is your active changing of your ship. Like this is your active engineering, if you will.
Yeah,
Which I always liked ever since they brought in
yeah,
the power triangle, right? So yeah, it's pretty sick. And then yeah, just the rest of the UI looks neat. It looks uniform with the aesthetics for everything that they're doing at the moment. So sure, I do want to see the radar working to get a bit more of a perspective of what that looks like. But
yeah.
I mean,
Everyone
this was
was
not the
laughing.
UI episode. This was just sneak peek stuff.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll say is it's a lot of the same UI we had outside of the power triangle change, but
Hmm.
legible. Like every
Yep.
MFD is really easy to read, and I think they did a fairly good job of that. I think the Corsair UI is the example of putting the cart before the horse, as they've done so often. Why do I need head tracking to see the bottom UI, right? What if that's really important and
Yeah.
I want that? So that's one of the things that really still bothers me about the
Hmm.
MFDs, is that they didn't change where, just put a couple above,
Yeah.
just put a couple above or whatever. I don't know, man. So yeah, about the choice there was always visual over gameplay, and that will always bother me. But
Yep.
yeah, outside that, I think it was fantastic.
Yep.
Even this.
So yeah, that was pretty much it for ISC. Is that the coupled and the ESPN stuff?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just floating. I don't think it's
And
part of
it's
the
not
visor.
blue.
True. Yeah. But it is orange, and if you've flown enough Argo, the orange UI can be pain as well. So,
Yep.
but yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't the entire ISC. Jared did the little thing at the end, like all
Oh
the
yes. Yes.
developers. 500th episode, I think, something like that. They went back and looked at the numbers, and then every dev that was on every episode. These aren't all the devs that work at the company. This was every dev
Yep.
that appeared on an episode, and just seeing names. Yeah,
Just a appreciation token thing.
yeah.
It
A
was
lot of
funny.
names.
Apparently, some people got missed. I saw on Twitter, and Jared was very mad that all of his effort had missed a few people. But with the amount of people there are, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, and it just I'm looking back at all my 12 years of following this, and the people that have come and gone on this list, and people that I've interacted
Mm.
with, and it was actually a really nice thing to look at. So it was cool. All right. I was quickly going to touch on the Evo patch notes just to let people know what happened this week. The feature sections were very small in
Yep.
most of them. So this one was, they tried to make docking more robust, and I don't know how it went. I don't know about you. I am burnt. I am burnt to a crisp, and I have been doing much less Evo testing, and I honestly didn't do much this week because I am toasted.
It's
So,
especially been hard just because it's like the one thing that you're trying to test. Well, the multiple things that you're trying to test are just so broken, and it's demoralizing, I guess, trying to do that over and over again.
yeah.
This in particular, docking, because I know a lot of people have been asking about it, especially with Hull C in regards to like moving cargo and all that, like doing the cargo missions. I just don't have a Hull C, so it's just like I would have
Yeah.
loved to try to get to test that, but I just don't have one. So
They used to like have Evo accounts that you got a lot more ships on your account than you have on your main, and they just went away from that for some reason. The next
probably because
that
there's
was
enough people with every ship now.
yeah, sadly. Yeah, it's when they invited all the big content creators or whatever
All them
that have
damn
all of them.
creators.
This is another one that I'm not sure what happened, and I've asked around. I don't know if adjusted mission tag cargo went up or went down. So this is if you decided to steal the cargo, or you found lost cargo, or the mission failed and you have this cargo and you want to do something with it. How much it will sell for, I don't know if what it was previously went up or down, but this is just generally their game balance with that system and trying to not have it ruin whatever economy that they are trying to make not ruined. And then the last one is probably the best and most relevant patch. They updated and bumped up many hauling mission rewards. Another thing I was unable to see because the next thing is right at the top line there for bug fixes. They fixed the reputation issue. So you now actually get reputation with these missions. That was a huge blocker for them probably going to wave 1. And you now start at the entry level mission, and you have to actually survive the instability of the patches to be able to gain any progress, and you can't. Therefore, how do you get to the end game of hauling to see what the payouts are? You can't. So
exactly.
We got to take their word for it on that one, sadly. And that was it. We had 3 Evo patches plus a test preview. I don't know if you did the test preview. I did not.
No.
And apparently there were some good things. It was essentially them trying new hardware to see if they can deal with. You guys know when like a lot of devs have been talking about it lately. Their things get stuck in a queue. Like I pressed a button and it doesn't happen for way too long. They were trying to resolve that issue with this. Apparently, some things were better, some things were the same, and yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, they got good data and they'll just move into it. But yeah, I am an avocado that got turned into guacamole this week. I just couldn't do it this week, man. It's been a month. Like it's been a month, and it's exhausting.
It's been rough,
and it's always super late. And the one patch that's good, they always drop it on a Thursday night. I play hockey on Thursday nights. Come on, man. And we lost 7-1. I should have just stayed home and tested. We lost 7-1, and I took a puck to the knee. Like, super hard.
Damn.
I couldn't walk the next day. And
they would have won if you weren't there as well.
I was only on the ice for 1 goal against. So I wish that was not true. But if another guy was not on the ice, we may have won. He was on the ice for 6 against.
Ice drama.
Yep. And then he came back the next day and said it wasn't his fault. And we were like, okay, bro. He was not allowed to play defense the next day. So yeah. But tangent aside, I think we should probably go to you want to go to our first question?
Yeah, let's go to questions for the show. So if you want to be on the show, but you maybe don't want to call in, or you don't have time to call in, you can go to our Discord, which I haven't posted on YouTube yet today. But you can go there. There's a little questions for the show section, and you can just pose whatever question you want, and we'll have a talk about it.
Tsukiyomi? I think I got it. Tsukiyomi. It said, do you guys think we'll ever get the opportunity to resell back to the dealership ships we purchased with Alpha UEC at a reduced or refunded rate? For example, we get back 40% of the ship value. I feel like this would help people want to try new things, etc. Sell a combat ship not in use to potentially buy a cargo or mining ship or salvage ship, and vice versa. Sell a utility ship or try combat for events. This has to happen. I talked about it in review last week. Yeah, AUEC. I mean, you can actually sell it back your ship to the dealership, Chris Roberts, on the website for a full 100% refund of store credit. So you can do it for not UEC, but the for in-game, yes. This was one of the things that I mentioned on Week in Review last week, was like the dynamic economy and all these, like, or 1.0, or how close are we to these things? Like, dude, we can't even sell our ships back yet. We're not even, this is one of the hundreds, if not thousands, of little things that need to exist in this game for it to just make sense in a lot of avenues. This is one of those things that just has to exist. It has to.
I will say, I don't think it has to exist necessarily in this particular form. Like, I wouldn't hate if the way to do this, like to get your value back from the purchase ship, was, you know, salvaging it, like fully, completely salvage. Not, you know, I'll get my reclaimer out and I'll start taking the panels off. Like you know, I get 40% of the resources associated with the ship back, right? And then I can
like
use
you
that
do it
to
at a station,
like it's kind of like you break it apart or something. Or like maybe the value I can get back is just by selling it to other players. I would be okay with that as well. I don't think we have to sell it back to the dealership, just as long as we can sell it, or we can scrap it fully, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be especially more useful if you could sell it to players, because the value will retain most likely more than 40%, right?
Yeah.
So regardless, you need a way. And the thing that scares me is that when your ship is locked to your hangar account on the website, you need a way to remove that ship if you don't want it anymore. And it shouldn't be by selling it back for store credit on a website. If I want to take 50 ships that I bought on the website and sell them in game for Alpha UEC, within reason, you should be allowed to do that. I don't like, this is a very exploitive kind of problematic thing. I don't think a whale should be able to come in, spend all their money on ships, sell them for you. Like, there would have to be a huge like problem with doing that, in terms of like you not getting the value or whatever that you would if you just bought the gold or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But even account lock things, you need to be able to get rid of. Like, there's a lot of people have a lot of shit that they don't want. Like, if you're subscribed, you don't get to choose necessarily what you get. If you're subscribed, when they give you something shitty that you don't want, you still get that shitty thing that you don't want. Like, there might be a paint for a ship that I'm never going to have. I want to get rid of that. So whether or not, like, you bring up a marketplace or something like that I could just sell to players, or just get rid of to a salvage yard or some shit, I don't know. You know, but it would be nice to have that as an option. But that's all I really have.
Like even things like weapons and whatnot, the exact same thing should apply. I feel like there just needs to be a way to move it around. I will say, specifically with like subscriber gear, I wouldn't be like, I've got a bunch of stuff I don't want, right? But I wouldn't hate if they literally just had a box that said like not claimed, and I can just leave it there and not have to deal with it until it's like, oh, hey, you know, I actually do want this thing. And you don't have to manage it or anything like that. It just stays away from me at all times.
Yeah. That would be good. And I don't know. It just scares me how far away we are from so much.
From all
yeah, from so many things that, like, those are needs. Those aren't wants. Those are needs.
Yeah.
So it's a freaky thing. But ready for callers?
Let's get into it. We've got a bunch of callers, so we'll listen to AnticXz. And if you want to answer the call, make sure you go to the podcast Discord that I just mentioned, which you can find on YouTube, and you wait in the green room. We've probably got enough callers for today. Usually, if you get in within like the first half hour of the pod, you're able to get in.
Yeah.
AnticXz, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
What would you like to talk about today?
I want to talk about jump points, and particular one little thing that took like 7 seconds for them to mention in ISC, but I think in the long term changes the entire game, and I'm kind of freaking out about it a little bit. I had my Star Citizen freak out moment. I've been following the project for 10 years, and I'm just like, let them make the game. Let them make the game. I had the freak out moment. And I want to talk about it.
Welcome.
Okay.
Welcome to every day in my life.
Yeah. So the jump point sizes, or stable jump points, now all being extra large or whatever the size.
All
of
ships
Just
can go
allowing
through
for
'em.
all vehicles
Yeah.
is what. Yeah.
Yeah, all vehicles. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if this is a temporary thing because obviously until we have 5, 10 systems, you need to let people be able to traverse to different locations.
Yeah.
But I think this just incentivizes that big ships are better, assuming in the future everything's a large jump point. Take your big fleet, take your big ship into Pyro from Stanton, and there's no downsides, theoretically, right? Before you'd
Until
have
we
to
get
jump around.
transient jump points as well, though. Like
Yeah.
for 4.0, yes, I agree with you. 4.0,
Yeah.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, in the future, it was just at least the way we thought from the Arc Star map. Again, it's 9 years old, right? Things change. It just sounds to me like the way they said it on ISC that it was a permanent thing, and all stable jump points will be extra large. And it's just like that clarification. I'm still not sure about. And again, they might change it in the future, but I'm thinking of the kind of the economic complications of that is you want to get a reclaimer from Stanton to Pyro in the future TM, hopefully one day. You have to jump to like Magnus, Hadron, Castra over to Pyro. You have to make that decision and invest that time to make that loop to get a big ship into Pyro, military, industrial,
Yeah.
whatever,
It's
right?
it's not even just that. It was like hull sea cargo hauling runs could take like, multiple hours where you could do 3 trips in a freelancer or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was actually one example I was talking about with my friends is like the jump gate was medium between Stanton and Pyro. Do I want to take 4 of my friends and freelancer maxes to make the short jump and not have a big ship, so less protection potentially? Or do I want to spend the time investment to go around, potentially run into trade lane pirates, but have a bigger ship and maybe more security through bigger escorts since I'm taking a bigger ship? And this to me, literally, in the future, not in the short term, changes literally the entire game. And I'm kind of freaking out about it. I'm not going to lie. I want to know what you guys think about it.
I will say I don't think this is like any real thing to freak out about, because I don't think it's going to have, if everything you just said happens, doesn't change, and there's no like added things, I don't think it affects the game a crazy amount. I think it just affects this one thing that we thought was a really cool concept.
Yeah.
I don't think it ruins the game, you know what I'm saying?
But it
I would
ruins
still
the game
like
for
it to be
him.
that way.
It sounds like. And the
It
thing
doesn't
is,
ruin the game
not
for me,
ruin it, but
yeah.
it's
It's a
one of the
huge
things that you
change.
loved, right? At least that was one of the things that I mentioned it earlier on in the podcast too. Is I love the idea of that. I just made a video this week about how I felt like every ship in the game, not every ship necessarily, but more ships need to be flyable for more reasons. And like, tell me why I should be flying my freelancer. Tell me what situation my freelancer should make sense in. And before this show came out, I made that video, and it was like, but the obvious one would be jump point sizes. Like that one I thought for sure was going to stick around, and even that went away. So and it adds to like bigger ships better still even more. And it's a sad thing. Now, obviously the transient jump points, we don't know how easy they'll be able to find. We don't know how technically stable they will be, like how if somebody finds them, will everybody be able to see them, blah blah blah. But there's so much we need to learn around those. But yeah, like I was hoping that when you made a big run in a big cargo hauler, that you knew the trip was going to be way out of the way and longer, or you can make the choice. And like this was a long time ago, CIG giving us the choice that they're constantly talking about today, and they're actually taking that choice away now in just funnily in this situation. So yeah,
I don't want to get it confused that I do prefer the old system.
Yeah.
My hope is that they are still able to give us something that will do everything that you're talking about. Will provide us with reasons to go into those smaller vehicles. Transient jump points are probably going to be that thing. I do still want it to be more than that. But it's just, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, this could have been a situation where maybe it would have been bad to have all the small, like everything be different sizes, just for the purpose of like regular gameplay. It might have sucked. That's completely theory because we haven't had any jump points.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it
I do
especially
hope they change it.
sucks.
I hope they bring it out later.
It especially sucks where, like, if this was actually a medium jump point in 4.0 and you couldn't get across.
Oh yeah,
like, a big ship, it would be
yeah. For now,
ridiculous.
no, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. For now, that
Yeah.
wouldn't work. It's
Yeah.
just, I'd really love for them to put out a post on why they changed it, because I've talked to so many people that have been following this game for 10 years, and we're all scratching our heads. Like, for the long term, it seems terrible, but I'd really love them to explain the rationale and the gameplay reason behind why this changed the way it is, or was it a miscommunication on ISC, and is it temporary?
It's not terrible. I mean, both me and Croncy have played Eve. I don't know if you have. Every ship
I
can
have
go
not.
through every jump point.
But not
It's
every
not that big.
wormhole. And I will say that is a big, like, because once again, that's more close to the comparison. And it does create these really interesting interactions where you can have wormholes that you know for a fact aren't going to have insanely large battleships, right?
And wormholes
so-
are essentially transient jump points.
Yep.
So like they're
Pretty much. Yeah,
they're
yeah.
pretty much the same, except wormholes have their own space that you're in when you go through them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's essentially just going into a system.
Yep.
But yeah, because you can only bring, certain size ships through certain wormholes, not certain systems, but like certain wormholes, it creates interesting choices you have to make about your hauling and what combat ships you're going to bring into those locations and all sort of stuff. Like, it is a cool thing, but that is in conjunction with the 5,000 systems that you can go to with every single size ship.
Exactly. That's where Eve's a little different on its scale, and we have one and maybe two very soon. So it's a little different.
One more little touch on that, and then I'll jump to the next little thing I want to talk about. For a while,
just so because there are a lot of callers. After that next thing, we'll let you go. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. No, one little thing on this, then I'll jump to the next one. Will be over. So, for a while, the Retaliator was the scariest thing that could go through a medium jump gate, and again, goes back to logistics and planning. Same thing with the hauling career. Same thing with the Hull C. Same thing with the Retaliator. Same thing with like an Idris, right? The choice. All right, next thing I want to talk about real quick is the power plant points. It looks like.
Yep, I'll try to pause on one of them.
I'm very happy the triangle's going. At least we can assume it's going by the UI, right?
Yeah.
It looks like there's a little mode button I saw, or a little like toggle, probably something you can bind to the key. You can switch to different modes. I really hope if you're maxing out your power plant, like you got all points allocated, it starts to degrade.
Or you can go over maybe and it degrades even faster.
Yeah, exactly. Creates that gold sink that I think we all need in the game to keep it interesting.
Very badly.
That's about all I got on that. Unless you guys have anything else on that specifically.
It's so out there. Yeah, it's just a better idea, but it's also, we don't know anything really.
Yeah,
we're so just completely speculating on what any of this means.
Yeah, but
I'm just like, I like the way it looks, but I just want to hear more about how they intend us to use it a little bit. We got a very
this looks
small
good.
Sense.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. We got a very small sense of CitizenCon, but I need more. I need more.
And it looks like the MFDs are more compact. Like there's more data displayed cleanly on each panel, which is legible. Really good. Yeah. Really good change. Yep.
Legibility is by far one of the things that Star Citizen has struggled with like the most with all of their UI over the past 10 years. So
have you seen the
it's good to see it look good. Yeah.
Yeah. Marker things. Oh my god.
Yep.
Brutal.
Well, that's all I got, guys.
All right.
I know you got a lot of callers today, so
we do.
Get out of here.
Yep. All right. Be good. Thank you for your call, and I share your pain with the sizes, but hopefully it'll be better.
We'll see what happens.
All right, man. Later.
Have a good one, mate.
Thanks.
Bye. All right. So that was AnticXz, and then we got our very regular SpaceMonkeyBusiness. Welcome back.
Hey, your monkey.
Oh,
monkey. Hello. There you are. Howdy.
Did you click the wrong button or what happened?
No, we're here. You're here.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just like heard a different sound. Hi, how are you doing? Good.
Good.
Yeah. What would you like to talk about?
I'm just want to add to the point of AnticXz. So I was also a bit worried, like because it might affect the depth of the gameplay for like hauling. So I thought, maybe it's not like, because I like games where you have to figure out the game a bit. Where it's like, okay, how do I do this? What is the best way? And with jump gates that have the biggest size and everything is allowed through, then there's nothing to figure out, at least for me. Or it is a bit worried about that.
There'll still be stuff to figure out, but it's taking away a kind of a very obvious and like interesting way that these dynamics would essentially work. Like the way that you're going to plot a route is just straight up going to be different than what we had thought it would be.
This all just popped in my head right now. The size stuff sounds like it was very 2014, 2015 Star Citizen before Procedural Planets, and specifically pre last week or the last month, where they've basically designed the size of hauling that you will do based on certain mission types or certain places that you're picking up from and dropping off from. So you're getting the depth in cargo hauling that you always wanted. You're just not getting it in the interstellar travel. They decided, and this was their gameplay decision, to say interstellar travel equals hull C, maybe C2, but most likely hull C and larger. Therefore, interstellar travel has to be able to handle those kind of ships in order to make that economic choice, I guess, to exist. So I guess it makes sense when you think about it from that standpoint, as much as I still will always stick to my Freelancer was the largest cargo ship that can fit through the smallest jump point, and I loved that concept. But I also accept that if they figure out a way to do that in a Stanton system, then I'm okay with it.
It doesn't say that it might give a gameplay reason where the main entrance is either totally blocked because they is unstable or whatever. So there could be some gameplay reasons to shut it down.
The stable jump point is a stable jump point, so I'm not sure what you're referencing.
I don't know.
I don't know if this is what you're getting at, Space Monkey, but you could make it a dynamic event.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Sure.
We don't need any more of those, Croncy. Please stop. But it would be cool. It would be cool.
Yeah.
Or maybe not of the size of Xenothreat, but maybe just like a bunch of smaller ones that you can activate if you do something in beforehand.
Yeah.
Another point that was interesting for me was when you fall out of the tunnel, how far are you away from the next, I don't know, station? And that's could be a reason to call in for refueling, because you're so far out that you cannot reach any system or any station to refuel. So
yeah, which I think that would be the appropriate punishment, is like, you are far enough away from somewhere that you actively have to like either seek help or be a refueling ship and just use like, a bunch of your stock, to actually get through that. Exactly, yeah. Because like I said, it needs to be punishing enough that people don't actively try to use it to exploit, but it also needs to not be punishing enough that like the actual gameplay itself needs to be only hard enough that the literal most brain dead person would fail it,
Yeah. I don't care for this to be a mini game at all. Like, it doesn't matter.
I mean, it's barely a mini game. It's
we don't know.
Like that's true. We don't know, I guess, but like you're flying a little bit, right? You're just flying ever so slightly around.
Yeah.
By the way, seeing that footage here, I was also a bit disappointed about the difference in design, because for me, in the MFD design, for me, it just looks very similar. I mean, the colors are different and maybe some slight changes here and there, but I hoped for a more significant difference between the UIs or the MFD designs. But hey, it's just a minor thing. That's not that important.
I do think it's a pretty.
I want to be able to read them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but maybe let's like. But on one MFD, it's maybe a more round design. On the other one, it's more, I don't know.
Oh, you want like a like a complete aesthetic change, sort of like.
Well, they said they were going to do manufacturer styles, and they didn't do styles. They just did colors in these.
Yeah, they just did colors. Yeah, there wasn't much difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But hey, that's a minor thing. There's one other topic, and I don't know if I get screamed at by Mike for that, but maybe
no, go ahead.
Add my 2 cents. It's completely off what we talked about so far. Because 2 weeks ago you had a stream on Friday, Mike, where you talked about pay to win.
Oh God! Now I am gonna yell at you. Go ahead, but I'm not gonna entertain the pay to win conversations much anymore.
No.
This community is too cooked.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. I mean, for me, there is no winning because we have no complete game, because they have to define win for me. I mean, in a PvP fight, we know what win means, but on a longer term, so
it's okay to sell ships now because there's no pay to win, but there might be later, and when they define it, the ships that they sold are going to be pay to win. So that's okay.
No, that's the point I want to come to, because what we always discuss about is exactly that point. What we never discuss about is a possibility to not get rid of it, but maybe find a way to deal with it in a proper way. So I don't know if you ever thought about what could they implement to make that less important, that you have big ships, or even
he doesn't watch my videos
completely. Okay, tell me. I watch a lot of your videos, but maybe I've missed exactly that one.
I was just going to shout at you, crafting. Crafting is the way that you skirt around this, and you skirt around the pay-to-win answer. But I don't super trust CIG to do it in a way that it will skirt around it.
So I posted a video titled, like, it was a shitty title and a shitty thumbnail, but I couldn't think of a better way to do it. Like, Star Citizen could be better.
Yeah.
And it was my way of answering the pay-to-win problem, but I never mentioned pay-to-win until the very end because I didn't want to get people to be stuck on it. Because it's not just a pay-to-win problem. It is the problem around ships that is like, there are 4 ships that you fly in Star Citizen right now or you would recommend people fly. You can fly other ships because you think they're fun, but the Hull C is the best. Or excuse me, the C2 is the best cargo hauler. Hull C had its issues with bugs and stuff, so you wouldn't recommend that necessarily. And they had specific runs that you wouldn't make as much money, so they actually balanced that one. C2, best cargo hauler. Mole, best miner. Reclaimer, best salvager. No questions. You can solo both of those ships, and you could solo all those ships and do it fine. And if you were flying anything other than a Hornet Mark II, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. End of story. There's literally 4 ships to fly. That's it. Obviously, there are many other ships. So my argument was these metas are way too big of like, this ship is the best. The bigger the shield, the better. The bigger the quantum drive, the faster it goes. The bigger the guns, the bigger they hit. And I was just saying, like, Eve does this really fun thing where they'll just be like, oh, this random ship over here, yeah, that gets a 10% bonus to ice mining. So then all of a sudden your prospector could be the meta ice miner and the mole could be the meta rock miner or whatever, right? Yeah. So then you start saying, oh, the small ship that isn't that expensive has its place in the world, and the person who paid to win isn't winning as much because they can't win at everything anymore. So that was my argument there.
In addition, like in all of those examples as well,
call them mini metas.
Because they are, it's because they're also all. There's always going to be metas. The tier 0 metas are always the problem with any game. And that's what we have in Starset, is we have tier 0 metas where there is one choice. There is not a second choice that is only 2% worse. It is just, there's one choice.
No, it's not even like, if it's 2% worse, it's still worse. Like the mentality that I had is, this is good at this situation and that is good at that situation. We're not even going linearly. Like, you move from the prospector, something in between, to the mole, to the Arastra, to the Orion. You use the Orion for this, you use the mole for that, you use the prospector for this, and then you're not selling or melting your prospector to get a mole. You're keeping your prospector, you're keeping your mole, you're keeping your Orion, because they're all different situations that are all fun, and they're all things that you would do, that you would want to do. That is the anti-pay to win. And like obviously
Yeah.
somebody can have all of those ships and they're paying to win still, but I think it protects players at the lower
Yep.
levels so much more, and it just makes the game more fun. You see more ships flying around, and you have a lot more fun.
But
Yep.
is it not more of a meta discussion? Because I mean, no matter if you buy or them for real money or if you earn them in game, if you get those ships, you are in the meta, and then this is the
Okay.
issue.
Yeah, but the problem
But-
is you can buy those ships. So
The
that makes
problem
it
is
pay
you
to
can
win.
buy into the meta. That's what makes it pay to win.
And here's my last point to that. Because what if, I mean, that's just copium and like always an idea. What if you open up a different progression path that is not affected by the ships you have? Like you have like standard materials, and then if you, I mean, the last example from my experience was New World, where you mine some stuff, but occasionally there is like an RNG factor in the mining stuff where you just
Where you
get
get like
this
gems, you mean?
this very rare material. So in hindsight, when you go back to Star Citizen, would be okay. No matter if you have like a mole or a prospector, there is this different progression path of, I don't know, some whatever material that you cannot scan it. You just like, for RNG reason, it pops out when you mine it, and you don't get a huge advantage if you have like a bigger mining ship. It's just like distributed a bit differently. So that would prevent the pay to win in some way if you just like open a different path where you have to play to progress no matter what ship you bought in the first place. So, but
I mean,
that's
yeah,
just
almost
my
every
idea.
MMO does that, and that's something I want
Yeah.
CRG to do. But in respect to crafting, reputation, exploration, having it be able to play the game to get those benefits, sure, 100%.
The pay to win in Star Citizen, and I don't like using pay to win either. It's the skipping progression. And right now ships
pay to
are like
progress.
this linear progression kind of thing. Because I think people focus on the word win too much. The idea of if you remove the linear progression, you remove a lot of problems. But so you're still looking for linear progression where I can buy money and I can get the best mining lasers and I can do all these things. It still has its problems.
For like the standard line, but you want to upgrade or want to get special components where you get more
You want that
into
to be
whatever.
RNG, so you want to gamble. You want gambling mechanics essentially. No, and I'm not saying that in like the negative way. A lot of games do this where it's like an RNG roll, whether or not you get the stat on the thing that you want or whatever.
Yeah, for me it's like two lines. Where like the standard line of, I don't know, you buy ships and you I don't know, buy whatever bases and the other line is to maybe upgrade them and
it's
put you in a place where you can compete. So
it's
like
gamble.
two ways to do this.
I don't like those mechanics in games. It's too RNG, too gambling. Because then you throw in-game money at those things to keep rolling to get what you want, and then because you can buy real money, it is literally people rolling real money and gambling on. There will literally be gambling streams on Twitch for Star Citizen if RNG is a mechanic like the way you described to like get the better mechanic, if I'm understanding that correctly. So
no, but when you just like getting resources out of an RNG factor, I don't know if you're on the same.
Yeah, I don't think he means like, you know, using in-game purchases to then do
no.
just means like when you are mining for your regular mining, whatever,
you might get some
random
cool
chance to get a good material. Yeah,
which
essentially is how it works now. You look for mining material, and then sometimes you'll find Quantanium.
Yep.
Right?
Or if you do
that is not enough to solve the excessive shit that has happened over the last 12 years. And that I'm stopping this conversation now because it's so off topic.
Yeah, okay. That was just
it's not pay to win because I keep losing. That's my answer.
That's true. Star Citizen must not be pay to win because I feel like I've been losing for 12 years.
Maybe one short question at the end. How complete, if you give like a percentage, because you mentioned earlier, Mike, how complete does Star Citizen feel for you? From 0 to 100%?
5%.
MMOs are never complete.
That's such a community-like answer.
It is, but it's also real. It's World of Warcraft's not complete. Eve isn't complete. Like all these games have insane features coming every year, right? Maybe not WoW. It's kind of just copy paste every year now. But
You know what we mean by complete, and that's why it's a cop out answer.
I kind of don't, because but once again, it's because I'm not an OG backer, right? Like I feel like I have different sort of
OG or not doesn't
I feel
matter.
like I have different eyes of what would complete mean to me.
You're missing the point. You're missing the point. You're missing
Okay.
the point. Complete strictly means launching 1.0. They go with whatever they go with. It doesn't need to have a list of features that I want versus what you want. So the idea of when people say like what is complete, that's what complete is. And I think even from their perspective, we're very far away from that. What list? I mean, guys, it's taken them 7 months to make the fucking list. It must be pretty long. So yeah, that's all I mean, Croncy. I think anybody, but I think it's a cop-out answer from our community, not necessarily how you're saying it. I see the perspective you're taking from like a list idea of like my list might look different than your list, right? But the community will use it as the game will never be complete because they're always putting out more features. When people are saying when is Star Citizen going to release, when is it going to be complete, they mean when is it going to be 1.0? That's what they mean. And we don't know what 1.0 is. When they tell us 1.0, we'll finally be able to point at a somewhat when answer. And then that all goes away. Yeah. All that bullshit goes away. And I can't wait till it does, because it really bothers me with this community when they mention that. And again, not that you were.
I mean, for me, it feels like 20%, but I have the feeling it seems pretty difficult for them to implement new things and new gameplay into the game. So it must be very complex, like in the background with all the coding and systems and modules and services they have, that it's such a complicated task to implement new things.
Yeah. But
all right,
not about jump points, so.
I thought you said,
by the way, I'm not on my phone ignoring you. I was messaging somebody in the green room to let them know that we're going with what we got.
No, I just wanted to bring something up because you said at the beginning we might not have enough discussion topics, so I thought I'd just throw something else in it. But that's it for me.
Yeah, we got plenty.
No yelling. Pooh, no yelling to me, towards me.
No, never. Never. But it's just, yeah. I think we can go on this topic, like save it. Why I save it for when we have nothing. We had enough today.
Yeah.
Save it for when we have nothing. Then we can go.
We might also talk about
so maybe like next week.
Maybe next week.
Exactly. Next week we're gonna have nothing. So just save it for then. That's all. There's all these callers that want to talk about jump points. You're talking about pay to win.
I'm sorry.
You're
sorry
fine.
to the other callers.
Yeah, you're fine.
Now
you're fine.
I'm off.
You're good. But we're gonna fucking go deep on this one day. I promise.
Yeah.
All right. Space, be good.
I'm waiting for that day. But until now,
SpaceMonkey, go.
I'm the one who sends them out. We love SpaceMonkey. You got yelled at, but it was by Croncy. Can you believe it? Of all people, you got yelled at by Croncy. That's
Mike,
never
stop
happened.
talking to him. We need to get to the other callers.
All right. I sent him out. Croncy's yelling at me. I don't know what to do.
We said goodbye to him like 20 times.
All right. TaliaNova's coming in. Hello.
Talia, how you doing?
Hello. First off, it's very lovely to meet the both of you.
Are you sure about that after this last interaction that we just had?
I'm sure space is fine.
Okay. Oh, TaliaNova. Excuse me, I called you Tali. I got my Mass Effect in my brain.
That's all right. Me too, all the time. First off, long-time viewer, first-time caller. Very happy to be here. Second off, I didn't really want to talk about jump points specifically, but the ISC itself and the way that they've communicated. Because I kind of wanted to speak with you, Mike, and kind of like mark the differences about like how they've been in the past, back when it was ISC first starting out, back when it was even Answer the Call, because with
around the verse,
this,
but yeah.
I'm sorry, sorry, a bit nervous.
You're fine. You're fine.
Because I looked at this ISC, the intro to jump points, and all I could think was, this is the first time that they've really sort of had a congruent vision communicated in a single video, because they had narrative designers, sound designers, game designers, VFX artists, all of this stuff in one video, all telling you the exact same message about the game that they want to make in a definitive setting. Does that make sense?
Yes, they still managed to fail in the idea of we're still pretty confused at the end of it, but it was like Croncy said at the beginning, it was one of the better ISCs of the year for sure, and that's the reason why.
And I kind of just think that ISC, obviously, Jared, content team, all separate from game dev, whatever, but it does kind of speak to this trajectory the game is going on, I think.
You hope.
And I hope. This is some hard copium, I admit, but
yeah,
there are, like, the fact that the narrative team made an active choice, like you were saying in your react to it, to remove the physical gates, which I don't care about, in order to sort of organize it all into this clear vision of, like, this is how it's going to work, this is how it's going to look, this is how it's going to work in relativity to the narrative. And the narrative informing the gameplay, I think, is very exciting, because it means that they're sort of like locking in. They're like really committing to things in a gameplay sense as well.
I think it started with probably the idea of, hey, we want to do this transient jump point thing, and then you have to make sense of this is a stable wormhole, that's not. I still wonder the gate around, like, the gate could still exist with everything they said, but they just visually didn't like it, I guess, and they made that choice. It might have been a Chris Roberts choice. I mean, who knows? But
like, it's 100% an aesthetics choice.
Yeah. Well, and then maybe they felt like the transient jump points, they wanted to look a certain way, and these another. I don't know. Or particularly care. I care way more for when the gameplay designers on the shows and systems designers are talking. But like you said, I really appreciated that they had everybody sharing. Like the sound designer even was there, you know?
Yeah, I think this latest season, if you want to break it up into seasons of ISC, has been like really, really refreshing, because there was that one where we were all Some days we get the pyro gun previews. Some days we get practically nothing.
Yeah. But we've gotten a lot more pyro gun previews than we have anything else. So I appreciate what they've been doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a real shift, and I think it's a good one. And if Jared keeps towing this line, communicating to us exactly the way things are going to work, and we're not going to have every ISC like this. There's going to be filler ISCs all the time. But
not just that, but it will slow down too, because eventually you're not going to have any more things to show.
I'm just excited. That's it. And I wanted to ask you, Mike, how does this compare to way back in the past? Perhaps before even you were a content creator, because I'm relatively new. I started playing when Lorville had just released.
No, I've always been, since they've started doing videos like this. So it wouldn't be before I was a creator, but it hasn't changed much, but it's more it's Jared's need to show everybody involved, which is cool, but it's still all talk, and it always is different when it gets in our hands, so it's hard for me to appreciate ISC as much. And what I think that the best change was made in the last, like, maybe 3 months or towards the beginning of this year, where the ISC gameplay capture team that thought that ISC was their playground to do whatever they wanted with and confuse the backers constantly with their silly videos and stuff, have taken their moments at the very beginning of the show to have some fun. but keep the core content of the show very serious and try to showcase it as close to what the players would experience as possible. Previously, that's what Around the Verse did. They showed you what they had and only what they had. And then we got to a place where we were confusing, and now we're getting back to that. The old ATVs were still better than this. But the reason that they were better is because it was very nostalgic, and there were theory crafting, and we all loved theory crafting. Nobody wants to theory craft anymore. They want to play the game.
I was going to say, surely the conversations back then were like way more conceptual rather than
it was
like,
so
know,
cool.
Like here is what we are bringing out next patch. Right?
It was more fun.
Yeah.
Now it's more serious, and that's because it needs to be, right? The shift was the needs of not just the kind of work that they're doing, but what the community needs. The community needs them to be more serious. So, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's all very exciting stuff. They're kind of making this transition from theoretical to the practical, and that's the single most important thing for us as a community, right? We need to know what it is we're actually going to be doing, how things are going to be working.
Yeah, the single most important thing is it to go from theoretical to actual in the actual game, which is unfortunately this year has not come to fruition as well as they've shown on these ISCs, unfortunately. Yeah, so hopefully
that was SCL where they said it was going to come out soon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Let's not talk about the downfall of SCL because that's gone down quite a bit over the last few years. But
yeah,
I'm disappointed with ISC. I'm disappointed with ISC in one respect, which is like it was even at the start of this year, the end of every single ISC just had a top-notch, super corny joke, and they don't do that as much anymore. And honestly, it's not even worth watching anymore.
True.
Yeah, I have missed this.
Yeah,
I missed
all of this.
The endings with the goofy
That's
stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the beginning and the endings. Like, it's okay. Just keep the meat fresh. I think they're realizing their community is more than people who think Jared is funny. Right? I think Jared's funny.
Wait, what? That's why I pledged.
I think Jared's funny sometimes, but I also come to ISC for very serious stuff, and I want to know and ask serious questions and hear serious answers. Same with SEO.
Yeah.
So,
is there a point in ISCs and SCLs where you think they mention you a little too much, Mike?
I wish they would stop completely. I think it's so stupid. How many people watch that show have no clue who I am and are like, what are these people talking? Like, again, super serious SCL. Super serious question that I asked, and we took the moment to take a shot or make a joke of, and it was just like, no, this is stupid. Just stop. Like, you're not helping me by doing it. If anything, you're just making people more annoyed with me. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I wish they would stop it completely. I don't need it. I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy with people who find me organically.
Yeah, it's an interesting line that they kind of got to thread because they need to, on one hand, be in touch with their community and their content creators because they need to keep you happy. But on the other hand,
that's not how to do it, though.
The chair punching is like, oof.
Yeah, that was completely stupid. And then why is it me more than everyone else? So if your idea is to stay engaged with your community members, why has Croncy been maybe mentioned once? Why has Expat Brat never been mentioned? Why did we never hear Detox? Why is it me, Burks, and Space Tomato? Like
and Avenger.
Yeah, an Avenger maybe like a few times. You know, it's like it's silly. So this is not the way to shout out your creators, I don't think. Yeah, Void Dude a little bit. But I don't know. It just I wouldn't care if they never mentioned me ever again for the rest of their lives. It's fine. I'd rather it that way because it's I can still be myself and feel like they're not watching me. I like saying what I want, not knowing that they're watching all the time or assuming that they're not.
Yeah, that's all I had from the communication side of it. I do
all right,
think.
And then real quick on whatever the next thing is, just because we're getting.
Yeah.
getting long.
So the next thing was jump points, quick point. I
Mm-hmm.
think that an interesting quirk of them rate limiting the jump points, as in they like send people in through batches,
Mhm.
is on the economy side. Assuming that we get a, working economy, it would be interesting to see how this affects interstellar commerce, because it kind of shrinks the amount of supply in just a numbers basis, right? Like,
I don't buy this.
Maybe it's just a
You're
like
talking a matter of a
what-
minute or two, not
Well, it
years,
depends.
days,
Like
hours.
how big are these intervals going to be? How many ships are going to go through at a single time? What's the space between them?
Think about this. If they are making it so you are waiting 10 minutes to go through a jump gate, they have designed
people
something
won't go
very-
through jump gates.
They designed something very bad.
Yeah, I think they said they want the whole experience to be like on the ISC. I think they said they want the whole experience to be about 3 minutes.
Yeah,
which
3 minutes.
includes going through, right? So,
Yeah, I'm very disappointed by the whole thing. It's very weird. But if it is a limitation to the tech they have, it's understandable. It's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting rate limit they've decided to impose. I just wanted to think, Mike, are there maybe some good sides that'll come out of this? Because, we
I don't know, but
talk so
Croncy's
much.
here too. You keep saying me.
Sorry, I didn't say Mike there. I said like.
Oh, I thought you said Mike. I was like, stop asking me. Ask Croncy something.
keep asking Mike. I'm
getting
gonna
uncomfortable.
Go play some Snake.
Well, Croncy here is the Hopium champion, so I'm
Yes.
hoping that you also agree with me that we talk a lot about our fears and our anxieties about the game, but some of these decisions, maybe we should just take a moment to observe some of the sort of diegetic things that come out of them that are positives.
Well, see, my philosophy with really everything, but in context of Star Citizen, is I don't trust that any of my opinions are remotely correct.
Right.
Which is why I'm able to be more hopium, is I'm able to trust that CIG are smarter than me. And so anytime I do foresee an issue like we've been talking about with there possibly being issues with PvP around the jumps, or issues with the economy in regards to the jump point sizes and stuff like that. I'll express those opinions, but I'm for the most part I'm just gonna they'll probably figure it out. I don't know how to do this stuff.
But in the game, they haven't figured out a lot of things. But I don't think it's because they haven't figured it out. I think you're 100% right. They are smarter than us. I think they just choose to not address them at the moment because they plan on addressing them later, kind of thing. But then it really hurts the game for the people who want to play
then
it
it's just annoying
while they're playing.
Yeah,
it's kind of a bullet to bite, though, don't you think? Because on one hand, we would like the information as it comes, but on the other hand, they should probably organize it first, get their communications correct. It's just the time scale there is a bit bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know on that one. I just want a good game.
So do I.
Just want a good game.
All right.
You want a good game? I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky the last couple of days. Great game. Jump into it.
I've been playing Death
the update
Stranding.
is sick.
Also a great game.
Yep.
So
all right.
yeah.
Well, that's all I wanted. I will
Talia.
take my leave. Thank you very much.
Enjoy. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye now. I think she was a first-time caller. I think, did she say that at the beginning?
I believe,
remember.
Yeah.
Okay. That was cool. And yeah, I love talking about ISC, but I'm trying to be nicer because I've seen Jared take criticisms and be kind of bummed out about it. So I'm trying not to be too critical about ISC anymore.
It's because it's hard. It's hard to be nice and continue talking about the good things. It's just easier to talk about, the things that we have problems with.
Yeah. I just find that I always find the worst in everything. So that's me. But all right, we got our next caller
why you
on the
invited
line.
me to the podcast because I'm the worst of everything. How you doing, Starkkad? What would you like to talk about today?
Can you hear me good?
Hear you great?
Yeah, you're all good.
Amazing. Okay, so yeah, same as Talia is long-time listener, so first-time caller. So
Cool.
I'm a bit nervous.
Yeah,
I made a list of points. Maybe we can do a lightning round. mainly had a bunch of questions that just came up after seeing the ISC regarding jump points and all the gameplay that could imply. So, my first point was regarding the ATC, which is, I think, a bit weird if the jump points are supposed to be natural things. But at the same time, I could also like maybe think about the station you could be communicating to and how they could be helping you to align and maybe sync with the.
Did you see the post?
I did not see the post.
Okay, so I'll bring it up. They give their lore reason as to why or how the ATC prevents you from using this natural wormhole. Is they're gating it like it's a border between countries, and they don't want too many people going out or too many people coming in. So they are they are saying they are using the station that the ATC is located at and turning off your jump drive. They're like blocking your jump drive from working. Yeah, I think the word jamming was literally in the post. So thank you for that one. And yes, because I kept saying the wrong word, but that's the way they want to go about it. So if you need the logical, how does this make sense in the game? That is how they wordsmithed it.
It does make sense. I think it's nice to have like this entity that is controlling traffic. But then my question arises, and this is maybe something you can answer better if you've been able to try it in Evocati. But like, how is once you get to the jump point, then how are you like making a line? Is there maybe a long queue that you have to wait? Are you what if you cross and like surpass the guy that's ahead of you? How is that maybe like gameplay wise being controlled?
It was a while ago. It was a while ago, but I'm gonna try to remember like the steps. Like everybody was there, and they were. It was very similar to the problems that we have now in Evo, where like everyone's trying to leave the same hangar, but they're on top of each other, and there's this weird problem. Like everyone would queue, and I think you were in a queue. That's the part I can't remember. And then the game would let you know that it was your turn, and you would go, but people were also able to go at the same time as you. Like there wasn't one at a time. So the game would let you know that like you were okay, and then you actually had to speed up your ship enough to get through the jump point. If you went too slow, you would get bounced back through that like bounce border thing.
Which that does sound like it's changed based on what they were saying as well.
Yeah. So my experiences in Evo don't apply anymore based on everything that they said. I think quite a few things have changed since that test. I think that was to gather some feedback, and they changed some things for sure.
Yeah. But I'm guessing it's logic to think that there should be a way of queuing, and maybe also of knowing how long you're supposed to be waiting there in queue, especially if you're supposed to be managing a trading contract and having to deal with a time limit. And they're also like, I had the idea of maybe you could have like this syndicate or reputation reasons why you would get maybe a bump in the line. Or you could buy a bump in the line, maybe with reputation. If you then had to wait, or if you had to take an express delivery, then maybe you could use those to create also gameplay reasons where you would want to.
I would hate to get scammed.
I hate that idea.
I hate that idea too. I would hate to get scammed.
The second that I've been waiting in front of you, Starkkad, for like 3 minutes, and then you get bumped ahead of me, and I have to wait another like minute and a half, 2 minutes, I'm uninstalling the game.
I mean, there could be like a premium VIP queue separately entirely that you could never maybe know that there was people. Okay. That was just an idea hopping around.
I think the best things to apply that kind of stuff to is ones that don't skip a line, but speed up a process that you're doing on your own. Think like refinery jobs. You're
loading and you're unloading.
Yeah, you're loading and you're unloading with the cargo. Things that don't affect other people, but are like a competitive advantage. Yes.
Yeah.
But sense. I'll say no for the skip the line one.
And do you also think there should be a cost associated with jumping?
Yes, I do actually. I really do think that same with landing on stations. I really do. So,
how much?
I don't know how
it
much.
feels like once
we
again,
don't know.
it
The
just feels like it
economy's
would
changed.
lock. Yeah, it would have to be real specific if they did do it. I don't hate the idea, but then I'm like, what if you're a new player and you need a jump system
Mhm.
and you literally can't afford it?
Yeah,
That,
but they've
once
also
again,
been
kind of
just
sucks.
hinting at the
So-
idea of you as a new player staying in the same system. So I think jumping systems is a maybe early mid game kind of thing as well. So it also makes sense.
Maybe.
And also reputation could also maybe help you decrease the cost of jumping as well.
Do we know in the law, like, so they talked a lot about the law of jump points and stuff,
Mhm.
and how apparently it's, you know, it was just like a leaky quantum drive that let them jump through. Do we know if there's a, is there supposed to be like a fuel cost to this? Because you could just skirt that by making it a fuel cost, right? Then you are essentially making it a cost.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, they will also have to think about how you upgrading your jump drive could like give you advantages if that would be maybe the fuel cost because it could not be the time you take the jump, because we know it's just a line. It takes the same amount of time for everyone. So maybe, but yeah, I mean, there's something. There needs to be something that makes you want to upgrade into a better jump drive, or maybe a different jump drive.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though. But it also, do we have jump drives, or are they quantum like?
I don't know. I think
they use the words jump drives a lot.
Yeah.
But like that may change. Obviously, who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah. Then I had another point regarding you getting kicked out of the jump.
Go ahead. I'm listening. I'm
midway.
doing my normal
Mhm.
pee in the middle of the podcast. I will be back.
That's
Classic
perfectly
Mark.
healthy. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So my idea was I also like came out of another talk I heard Execute talking about, but it was just maybe there doesn't have to necessarily be a way for you to know based on the jump duration where you would need to exit to either be in a more beneficial point at the end or in a specific point in space that's maybe best for smuggling or best for getting you closer to your destination. But on the other hand, I think that there should be a cost in ship damage that you would need to take if you want to exit the jump in the middle, which I would think would balance the feature. And also maybe you could end up in another system entirely if there were to be more than one system, which would also, I think, be a cool idea.
That could be kind of wild, but I don't hate it. Is like you take the jump to Pyro, you mess it up. Whoops, I'm in Magnus. Now I'm really punished, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, but it makes sense because you're just traveling through gigantic, lengths in space, and maybe it makes sense.
Yeah.
I also maybe got the idea of some ships that they could do in the future that could either create temporal jump points or help stabilize jump points that appear naturally in the.
Fuck. I'm just thinking like, can we just have the gameplay by itself without a ship involved with it? I like the idea of this. The reason why I said "oh fuck" is because it's such a good idea. But can we not have it be an idea? Because it's also like totally fine on its own. But go ahead.
Could also be an item. You don't have to make it a ship. You could buy like a 32 SU box that has like a jump point generator inside. You just dump that in space and it creates
like
a random
the
jump.
Sinos. Let's go.
Yeah,
exactly. Because that goes hand in hand with the talk that I wanted to have about spaceships. Like there's multiple really large ships as well, and like again, like we see in Eve, there's ships that can avoid jump points altogether, right? So,
yeah, I think that the jump point size restriction is. I mean, I think it makes sense to take away. I did never understand how certain ships were supposed to even get to some systems if they didn't have a jump point that would get them there with their size requirements. So maybe then you would have ships that would like never be able to even go into certain systems if you had a jump requirement, jump size. So I think it is a good call to remove that restriction, at least for the standard jump points.
Agreed.
Yeah,
and for the time being where you don't have a million connected systems where you could do this. Honestly,
Yep.
it's something that they can go 5 years from now when there's significantly more systems, or there's just like 3 or something, because we don't know. But like, if they ever hit a point where there's a ton of systems, they can always go back and change this to be like, it's better game design to do it this way because we now have a lot of systems. So
Yeah.
Other games have done it before, in terms of like that heavy of a change to like movement. Games have done it tons of times, so it's not unheard of.
if they think it'll benefit the game, then go for it.
Mhm.
It's fine. But I think they're making the right choice for the long short term.
It's a choice that's like definitely good for the short term, could be okay for the long term,
You know
but
what?
can also be remedied in the long term as well.
You know what? It is a choice for what we were talking about earlier, Croncy. It sounds like a good choice for 1.0.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
There you go, right?
Nice. Those are my points regarding jump points, and I just also made maybe an extra point, if we do have time, regarding the pay to win discussion you were having before.
Nope.
I
Ooh.
could maybe just
No time for
my
that.
my
Sorry.
one sentence.
No.
Okay, if you have
could,
time. If
you
not,
could say the
there's no
sentence,
problem.
but Croncy and I will not be responding to it.
Okay.
You could say the
I
sentence, and then I'm gonna hang up on you. So I'm gonna thank you for the call right now and appreciate it all. No, I've seen this show is built around sports radio. This is what they do too. Just so you'll make your point. They literally hang up on you, and then they make their point, so you can't rebuttal. But
I like it.
yeah, it's
Thanks, Starkkad.
it's just so we can move to the next caller because I know what'll happen.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So go ahead.
Then I'll
I
just
want you
end
to
with
be able to
this then.
speak your mind. That's
I
the important thing
appreciate
for me.
So then I think I like the idea of the game. So you're having a lot to do with reputation and having to play to actually earn stuff. So I think a good way to mitigate pay to win is just to make the ships completely useless by themselves as soon as you purchase them. And then the more expensive the ship is, the hardest and the longer you need to play to maybe earn the components that you need to even activate some systems inside the ship to even be able to man them. That way, some ships like the Prospector, you could get up and running by yourself really quickly with low reputation requirements. But then you actually having to go with the Prospector, mining certain specific minerals, getting some specific reputation, maybe crafting recipes, and then crafting the stuff you need to actually be able to operate a mole, and so on and so forth. So locking these things behind actual gameplay, I think would be very nice. And that's my point. And you can hang up now.
Okay,
Slowly waiting. Like, I didn't want to say
anything
anything and break the illusion.
Yep. Leaving it there.
Sure.
Yeah. Fine idea. Sure.
Yep.
It's
Cheers, Starkkad.
Yep. I don't know. It's just, dude, the entire show. If you talk about pay to win, every comment will be about pay to win.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, oh, well, it's not. Yes, it is. No, and then it's like, dude, it just derailed there's so much good conversation that can happen about jump points, you know?
Yep.
So, Basic Eagle.
When am I going to get to pledge a jump point? How you doing, Basic Eagle?
Well, I mean, he implied spaceships that can make them, so you might be able to pledge literally a fucking jump point. So, yeah.
I heard you guys like pay to win. No, I'm kidding. Hey guys, first time caller.
3 today.
Welcome in.
I know.
Awesome.
That was kind of surprising to hear all the other new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Let me just pull up what I had.
Oh, good.
Okay, so yeah, the jump points. It seemed you guys talked kind of. This was like a recent change. You know, where they took away the ring. You know, the community's a little mad. I could care less. It's a visual thing, whatever it may be.
It was beautiful. I'm gonna find the image.
It was
too.
cool.
It is.
It was cool, but it is
looks
purely
fantastic.
visual. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just upset because the ring kind of is in a lot of sci-fi, and they saw that and they felt like promise was broken. They're not gonna live their sci-fi fantasy of going through a jump gate. but it is what it is. But the point that I'm trying to get to is, the sudden change was kind of, they used a lot of lore to back it up. And I'm just wondering if you guys are thinking that maybe if there's any more future ISCs with more gameplay that might have more lore backing to it. Say, for example, economy might be a big one. And, we've talked about, pyro and refueling and the amount of stations, like, that's gone.
Maybe. I mean, we got to be in pyro
it's
to
a
really
big
feel
maybe,
it, but it feels like they just said, never mind.
Right.
Yeah.
But no. So the question is, are we going to see more of the lore? Because we've talked about, or you've talked about in the roadmap updates. Every time there's a section for the narrative team, and we never hear anything about them. And I feel like this is something that we actually have that's somewhat substantial to the PU. That's lore related or narrative related. So are we going to see more of that now?
I think we do see it quite often. We just don't talk about it very often because usually the changes aren't maybe as like hated by some parts of the community. Like they also talk about this anytime a ship like comes out. There's a lot of VFX and aesthetics changes that happen that then get lore explained that are entirely just because VFX and aesthetics. They just want it to look cooler. Just this is the only one that people have cared about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with also 4.0, there's going to be the mission refactor. So does that mission refactor also include more of the NPC givers that we've had in the past? Or are they going to make a return?
No. 0% chance. The mission refactor almost guaranteed is all the current missions you have now functioning within server meshing. No change, no difference, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to say it sounds negative the way I'm saying it, but I think a lot of people are putting a ton of weight on 4.0, and the weight that 4.0 is behind the scenes, how things function. Yes, we've been in Pyro. Yes, we've been in Stanton. Now we're just going to be able to be connected to them. And a little bit better performance. Things that maybe you can feel, but I don't think they're going to be as game-changing as people are expecting them to be. Long-term, will that lead to what you want? I certainly hope so. But in the short term in 4.0, I don't think that should be one of their goals. Their goal should be, and this is how CIG has done it, their goals have been to deliver the new tech, but provide you with the experience that you were having before to prove that the new tech didn't break anything. And then you go and make it what it's going to be. So I don't even get the vibe that this was much of a narrative thing as like the jump gate stuff. I think it was a technical choice, and then they used some narrative bullshit to justify their choices. And the narrative stuff I want to see is what you mentioned, mission givers. When I'm at a certain location, like Hurston, all the voice lines, not Hurston, the city, but like a bunker in Hurston, all the voice lines are make sense for that. They're, you hear guards talking to each other about things going on in those locations. That's lore. That's narrative. The narrative in the game now is on the fucking website or in a stupid mission that doesn't mean anything. That's not the narrative I'm looking for. Like, a lot of games, like even Starfield, you walk by people, they're having a conversation and you're hearing about what's going on in that location and you learn a little bit more about it. They don't have to dynamically give me a mission or something like in those games, but it should tell you the story of where you are.
Just some more like NPC character depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
right.
I'm not sure I understood the question. I hope I answered it in the way, like, gave you the answer you were looking for, but I don't know.
Mostly.
Okay.
I will say one more small point to the I guess the background and the characters and whatnot. Oh, I'm sorry. I just totally lost what I was going to say. I'm just going to move on to my next thing. If I remember it, I'll say it.
Oh, good. Sure.
But the interaction with, the security around the jump gate itself or the jump point.
Yeah.
In Stanton, I don't remember if Stanton is like a medium or high like security, what the level is. But in comparison to Pyro's obviously
Yeah, much lower.
Yeah, if you want to go from the lore of Stanton, it is medium like UEE security.
Yeah.
But Stanton also has the CDF. Like that's not a thing that like really exists anywhere else. That's owned by the 4 corporations, is my understanding.
Mhm.
So actual security, it's still supposed to be secure,
Right. Yeah, because I mean, if I remember correctly from the lore, Stanton's kind of on the outer skirts or whatever of the UEE's territory.
They
if I
are
remember
not
correctly.
owned by the UEE. The UEE
They're not,
sold
but
the locations to them, but the UEE will help defend them.
Right.
Yeah, they're still under like the UEE government, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not a UEE owned system, so they don't defend it in that way as much, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with the security, now I know, server meshing and server FPS and performance and all that, it kind of hinders, the turrets maybe reacting to some kind of threat around the jump point. But in a, I guess, better world, when we do in the future, when we do have server meshing and server performance is better, like big copium or hopium, whatever you want to call it, when we have these other systems that are UE controlled, how much better is that security going to be, and how much is that going to play into, the economy and running things through these jump gates, because people are worried about, the camping of the endpoint when you're traveling back and through, and because they've talked about in the ISC, you're not going to be jumping into the same exact spot and crashing in each other, which is great.
Yes, because again, that is the exact experience I had in a jump point. So that is
Exactly,
what happened the first time I jumped through. I died, and
that's why you asked during the stream,
crash.
And to clarify, like, what exactly, how they're getting shotgunned down to this big whatever. How, we don't know the exact amount, but
yeah, a bubble of some sort around that location.
But the question is, with Pyro being a lawless area, and all these other systems, how are these jump points going to differ from one another? With you've had other callers talking about having a gold sink and whatnot. So are these jump points going to start having? Someone I think in chat even mentioned it, having taxes or some other features, that are gonna play into effect here.
I mean, I hate bringing real life examples, but like, maybe tariffs on certain goods like coming in and out. You never know. They can go crazy with the economy stuff on that side. I mean, security checks in certain ones of what you have in them, forcing you to use the other transient points to smuggle things in and out. It has to exist in that way. There has to be limitations to make it more fun, I think.
Your examples are great, because you know what I would actually love to see is like literally a jump point like owned by Covalex. And it's like, if you do not have high Covalex rep, or you're not doing a Covalex like delivery, you get shafted, or they just charge you like insane amounts, sort of thing. I want to see more of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Anything else?
Yeah, I'll just say one last thing.
Thinking more on that. That could be fun stuff.
Yeah. Lots of options.
Imagine an entire trade lane owned by a corporation to their distro center. Anyways, so with these jump points, not sure I really want to bring this up, but is this going to be like a tier 1 thing, and are they going to iterate on it more? Are they going to rework it later? Or are we confident that whenever they get this done and most of the bugs worked out and everything, that they're going to leave it alone?
I'll let you take this one, Croncy, first.
I feel like, at least historically, the way that like we've had tier 0, tier 1, whatever mechanics, I think the mechanic is going to stay pretty much the same, right? Where you queue up, you press this button, you have to avoid all these areas, whatever. That'll all stay the same. So it feels like to me the mechanic itself is probably going to be pretty solid, with a couple of maybe variations coming later, a couple of like small changes coming later. Definitely aesthetic changes. That stuff happens all the time. But no, yeah, I feel like it'll probably be done. The extra stuff is going to be the transient, because that's not coming in 4.0. I hope it's coming 1.0, but it'll be a while away. So yeah, but I feel like that's its own mechanic in a way anyway, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Well,
the reason...
Sorry, if you don't mind, I'll jump in and share as well. The thing that they've always done, unfortunately, is even when something isn't done, they leave it alone for too long, and then it tends to need a complete rework. But if the way they've been communicating is true, which past history says it probably will not be, and they've changed their mind 50 times since, if they are actually working towards 1.0, this should be further along or closer to a final product than what we have seen in the last few years, right? So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I'm not super worried about it, or I'm not having a freak out moment, but the reason I do bring it up is they eliminated the size requirement, so any ship can jump through it. And I'm just kind of wondering in my head, playing out, well, what happens when we're way down the line and we have javelins and Bengals trying to jump through, and you have this congested lane that you're trying to fit through? Are those ships, those capital ships, going to fit through the lane? And mostly for Stanton, because they have that all the build up around it. Is it gonna? I think it will fit. I haven't really seen it in game, so I'm not quite sure how much space is there.
Maybe that's why they took the gate away.
Maybe.
I mean, the image on the screen, that is a Bengal carrier. So I don't know.
So maybe a fit, but yeah, I don't think that stuff will be as much of an issue, or at least certainly not now with them saying that it would be all sizes, right? So, and I will say specifically in game right now, they're quite far away from each other. It just might not feel that way because you're flying in space. And it's hard to get a grasp of scale when you're not like in atmosphere.
Yeah, jump points are huge though.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Like go back and watch. There's an 890 jump that's like 3 ships ahead, and it looks like a peanut in there. So
okay,
I wouldn't stress about it too much.
Yeah, it's not so much the ship size to the gate, but more of the ship to other ships around it that are queuing up. Like, is it gonna?
Well, they put you in a line.
I'm sure there's a lot of space around it, but
there's no need to worry about space. You go in a line,
right?
Which I hate, but maybe that's the reason why they did it. So maybe I don't hate it as much. But I like the idea of us in a group being all together and come out together like that instead of doom, boring.
Yeah. Well, it looked like in the video
Highway
that they even described it as like a shotgun. You all come out as a group at, maybe
but
like
how
1
can we
second
if we're
between.
traveling? Yeah, maybe. I'm just like, how can we if we're coming out if we're traveling in it at different times?
Yeah.
Yeah, there could be some kind of visual trickery with it. Who knows? But
I don't know. All I know is it better be fun, and it better make the game better instead of worse. Shit. I think whenever we get out of PTU, I think we'll get the better tech previews. I think when you're dealing with a lot of problems,
maybe not even PTU, maybe just out of Evo. Yeah.
So that's my hope, because we really need these tech previews to be happening. Because we really need to get to 4.0, and I don't think they can do it without us. They need
they need us to do the exploits we were talking about today, so that they know how to fix them.
Yeah, they need the data from us to fix whatever unforeseen issues that will obviously arise, right? So yeah. But basically, you got anything else, or is this a good time to stop?
Unless you want me to end on an obligatory pay to win, statement,
You
which
know,
I have
no,
nothing. But
I do not want you to. I would rather end the show
I
on
don't.
a high note.
I don't. I kid.
Yeah, you had a great call. Some funnies at the beginning, some funnies at the end, some good stuff in the middle. I think that's probably a good place to leave it. First time caller, great caller. The only thing you have is that an anime profile picture?
I mean, yeah, but it's AI generated. But yeah.
All right, you got to go.
It's
then.
even worse. Oh God.
All right, just kidding. But have a good one, Eagle. It really was a great call, and we really appreciated having you.
All right,
and
look
I can't
forward
wait
to the next one.
Yeah, can't wait to hear from you
for
again,
sure.
man.
Catch
All
you
right,
then.
bro. Bye.
Adios.
All right, that was the call. Now I got a funny thing.
Okay.
If you can't tell, because you probably can't, I started figuring out making merch. Okay.
He did it.
Yeah, I did it, but it's all bad. This shirt's actually okay, but most of the stuff was pretty bad for the samples that came in, so got to redo them. And people were going, like, do you want to make more than just shirts and stuff? And I was like, no, I just want to keep it simple. I just wanted stuff for people to have at CitizenCon and stuff like that. That's it. And then somebody in chat goes, wait, so you don't want to make a phone case for Answer the Call? And I was like, that is...
Oh my God.
I because I literally mentioned I don't want phone cases because that's stupid. Why would you want a phone case with my logo on it? But just for me and you,
Answer
at
the
a
call.
minimum,
Ooh.
to have our little, right? Like, I was like, oh, we gotta do that. So yeah, I was messing around. I do, so just so everybody knows too, once I figure out this, I will figure out some Answer the Call merch stuff as well. So there'll be some fun stuff. But I never thought phone cases would have been a good idea for like creator merch. But when you think about it for this meme,
just perfectly meshed.
Yeah, it's a perfect meme. So I don't know how to end the show off. How do you feel about Jump Points? You feel pretty positive, pretty negative? A lot of people are complaining. A lot of people are sharing their concerns as we do. But I think overall it's way better than it is bad. And I think, I think a lot of the problems can be figured out, right?
Yeah, I'm keen to get into it and test it out. Like we said before, I wasn't able to test it out when Evo did it. What, like 4 months ago, 5 months ago now? I think it was very long time ago. So I'm keen to do my first jump, and based on what they showed at ISC, it looks like it's going to be dope as hell. So I don't know. It definitely got my hype up a little bit more, but in order for me to continue that hype, we're going to need some either big Evo progress this week or Wave 1, and finally start, actually playing the game again.
They said they're through a lot of the blockers to get there, but they didn't say what the remaining ones were. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yep.
Stress relief will go away when I could just. I was just talking about it with my chat the other day. I just want Star Citizen to be the background, cargo hauling, chilling, and just shooting the shit like you do about every other thing in Star Citizen, right? So that's what I'd like it to be. But for now, it's Evo all day, and it's getting boring. It's getting tough to do. So fingers crossed next week is better. If not, we'll talk about pay to win. Sound good?
Sounds good. And as always, make sure you subscribe to Answer the Call. And we do have memberships open. Thank you, Warren, for gifting a membership today. Absolutely.
Warren. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, make sure to like the video if you like it, or if you think that Mike is wrong, like the video.
Yes, and then write a 30-paragraph long reasons why I'm wrong that I will not read.
Engagement.
Yes. And don't forget
to answer the call.
Yeah.